Well, I guess it's only appropriate that our first installment of our Blast from the Past comes from with a guy that 56 blast that eluded opposing netminders, the all-time goal-scoring kingpin in a single season in Griffin's franchise history, Donald MacLean, joining us from the provinces, the Maritime provinces, back home in Nova Scotia. Donnie, so good to see you.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
56. So we're gonna relive these 56. Now, not every one of them, because it would take us at least a couple of days. I mean, how do you explain that, Don? I mean, you know, you had, your previous high professionally was 33. You had another season after 05-06 when you got the 56, where you scored 34, I think, 33 in the American League, 1 in the NHL. 56 goals. Can you sum that up with a short explanation of how it all happened?
Well, I'd have to say line mates. And I haven't kept in contact with them as much as I'd like, but with Nate DiCasimiro and Matty Ellis, it just, once we clicked, once we came together, game 9, 10, 11, 12, can't remember exactly when. First night together was 3 goals for myself, and we just had a great communication. We all wanted to be we're pulling the rope in the same direction. And we had a great relationship on and off the ice. And personally, the stars all aligned. It just seemed like I was shooting BBs into the ocean. Every time I got the puck, the stars were aligned. I probably couldn't repeat it again, but I enjoyed that year.
You probably give Greg Ireland, who was coaching you at that time, a lot of credit for recognizing Ellis and DiCasimiro and the value they would bring to the team, and specifically to that line with you. I mean, because you had 1 goal in your first 9 games and a couple more until you guys were united. I think it was in Winnipeg, if I'm not mistaken. And sure enough, you get 3 and a whole boatload, to use your ocean analogy, a whole boatload more right after that.
There's no question, Greg. There's a lot of credit to Greg Ireland. We had, some tough conversations early because my offensive output wasn't there, but it was never a point of benching or in the crowd. It was always, how do we get there? We know it's there, and there's an open dialogue. And Matty, I believe Matty's the captain that year, and it was just, there was dialogue with him, and it just, we tried different lines, and just eventually we all came in agreement. Let's give this a go. And like you said, in Manitoba, it just, day 1, bam, 3 goals, and we never looked back.
Not a single player in the history of this franchise has reached 50, which I don't know the way the game's going if anybody ever will. I'm sure it'll happen. I can't imagine anybody's ever going to get to 56, though. Could you?
No, hockey's different nowadays, and that year, it's like
goalies are bigger.
No kidding. Goalies are bigger and nets are smaller, I think.
Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it?
It's a way different game than even just when I played. It's just so, the skating game is just so important now, and the fighting's less, and it's a different style.
Donnie, you break through in the first game on a line with those guys, and then you keep going at unbelievable pace of goals. And again, we don't want to diminish your skills. You just were never a prolific goal scorer. You're always a good, solid goal scorer, a 30-goal guy, I guess, on average per year. Had you played, full seasons for, how many ever years? I think you played 9 here in North America. But to get the 56 is a remarkable feat for anybody. I don't care how prolific a goal scorer you are. You told me yesterday in a phone conversation that your most memorable, not only goal, but one of your most memorable moments of that season was your 50th goal. And I'm going to play it. It's a real short clip here, but I want to play this for you. Let's see if I can pull it up, and it's a real short clip here of your 50th goal that happened in Chicago.
Grateful to MacLean, score! Don MacLean's got 50!
There you have it. What made that so special to you?
Well, obviously, as an athlete, you're always going towards winning a championship, but you also have your own personal goals. No matter who you are, you still have goals or assists or points or whatever your beacon is. And for me, goal scoring. And something about the 50-goal plateau was always elusive. It was something that always wanted to be able to crack that, whether it was junior or minor hockey or pro. And it happened. And it's to do it in pro and do it that year. And with those line mates, like I said, I couldn't say enough about my line mates. Like, we all had our own successes, and we're no one was ever thought ill. We're all together. So it was almost like the three of us did it together. And it was just a nice feather in the cap. And as the season was going, because, as it was going, I believe there was also a donation to a local school per goal, wasn't there?
$100 out of your pocket to Straight Elementary School.
I believe went for a school gymnasium clock. But as the goals started to mount, obviously the media started to mount, and you always question in the back of your head, can you keep this pace up? Or when's the other shoe? And it just didn't. It just kept rolling. So it was just a great emotional ride. And if I can remember correctly, I believe it would have been in the first or third period in Chicago. One-timer pass from DCAS, top of the circles, top shelf. I can remember correctly, but I haven't seen it since. But that's how I remember it.
We're going to dig that one up. Another thing I thought was interesting yesterday when talking to you on the phone was just, how humble you had become. Like you said that, that was a memorable year on the ice, obviously, with the 56 goals and a great team that probably should have won a championship, except Pekka Rinne and the Milwaukee Admirals got in the way, some injuries, et cetera, including to yourself. But you also grew as a human, as a person that year. And I think the Straight Elementary thing, the donation to that school, which amounted to $5,600, you grew as a person that year, Don, you told me. And I think it was on display that day, not only when we went to give them the check for the $5,600, but you had bought every kid in that school a gift over and above that, which I remember literally a tear coming out of my eye when you made that presentation.
Well, like I said yesterday, it's, when you get to the junior, you turn pro, and sometimes it just takes different people, different amounts of time to get a perspective on life. You're just so ingrained. Hockey, do good, eat, sleep, hockey, eat, sleep, hockey. You forget sometimes that there is a life outside of hockey and how you act and how you give back to communities. And it was really the first time where I think it all came together for me on and off the ice, where, doing things like that, also tutoring an inner city child that was probably much different than my past. And then, hockey ministries in our dressing room, once every 2 weeks, not being over religious, but paying attention to it. So there was a lot of things coming together on and off the ice. So it was a great year.
The fruits of your labor off the ice will always resonate here with us internally. The fruits of your labor on the ice, some of it on display over your right shoulder there, Donnie. I want you to go, if you don't mind, take that picture of your first goal with the Detroit Red Wings and put it up close to the camera and take a peek at who's in the background of that photo. That would be one Steve Yzerman, who, that's how special is that picture among all the great accomplishments in your career? That's got to rank right up there with one of the best, right?
Oh, that's why it's there. It's like at the end of the year, getting called up for a couple of games and being I'll say a journeyman, I guess, in the American League, and that's why I played hockey, was to get to the NHL. And so I remember Greg Island, Bob McNamara calling me, and I went in for pregame skate in Grand Rapids, and then I get called in and told me I'm playing for Detroit. And I got a speeding ticket along the way, which was fine. It's part of the deal. I had to get to the rink. But those are phone calls that you never forget, those feelings. And then that night to be able to do that against the Edmonton Oilers in a 2-1 win, and the quality of the picture and who's in the picture. Yeah, it's those are moments that you'll take to your grave.
Now, when you went up, you were in a race for the goal scoring title in the American Hockey League. You led Dennis Hamel, who was in Binghamton at that time, I think by a goal or two. And so how much were you paying attention? Those 3 games you're up with Detroit at the end of the year, how much were you paying attention to Hamel and the box score, because you missed the last 2 Griffins games?
I won't lie to you, like, having gone that far down in the season, it would have been nice to win it outright. And for goal scorers that late, every game makes a difference. I won't lie to you, there's parts of me that want to send myself down to go play one last game to do it, but you're in the NHL, you're definitely not going to walk away from that. But I was definitely paying attention to the box scores.
Well, we were too. You eventually end up tied, but you were the MVP of the American Hockey League, and well-deserved, no doubt. Another big goal, significant goal. Here's another one I want you to hear. This was a couple of nights after you had scored your 50th in Chicago, which I believe also that photo of you with the arms up, behind you is, I think that's a photo of your 50th, is it not?
I thought it was for a long time, but I realized in the background that's a Hamilton Bulldog jersey. I really thought it
Okay,
was the
yeah,
50th.
because your 50th was in Chicago, yeah.
Exactly. It was in Chicago on the road, yeah.
Well, here's your 52nd, which was significant. And here's, we'll let you listen to this.
Slid wide right, and puck played by John Pohl. McLean took it away from him, and with a shot, score! Don MacLean! Don MacLean ties the all-time Grand Rapids goal-scoring mark, set back in 1950-51. By George Parker of the Ijels, Grand Rapids Rockets. He's got
50. If that was 52, tied the record.
I didn't realize it was that far back. I was just,
even I wasn't born then.
Because even the focus at that point was Picard at 46.
Yeah. Yeah, 50. It's just that whole season, and disappointing. Obviously, the way it finished. Though you made it to the conference finals, but injuries really did get in the way. I know you had a groin injury. Jimmy Howard was banged up. Kent McDonnell, who was such a big part of the team, also, I think, was unable to play in a lot of the games.
Yeah.
Not to take a thing away from Pekka Rinne and the Milwaukee Admirals. They were a heck of a team, and in fact would go on and win the whole thing.
Oh, they did. They had some young guys. I remember Tutu was there, and they had some great players that ended up playing the NHL, and I had nothing but respect for Rinne. Like, obviously, Jimmy Howard had a great career moving forward, but at that time, Pekka Rinne just put up the wall, and it was, and when you're a team that rolls all season, then you get into injury trouble. It's kind of you have such a short window kind of to regroup and find a way, and before you know it, it was over, unfortunately. But that's sports. But
yeah,
it would have been a cherry on top, no doubt, to be able to take the banner home that year.
Don, you got a couple of kids, including a son, 11 years old, playing hockey. Whether he makes it into the pro ranks remains to be seen. Sounds like he's tracking in that direction. Talk a little bit about life in Nova Scotia, what you're doing now, which, I think maybe that 05-06 season put you heading in this direction, and that is giving back to community and specifically kids with a new program there. Tell us about it.
Well, after I finished playing, I coached for about 5 years over in Europe. By the end of my career, I played and coached over there and had a great experience. I coached the Croatian national team for 3 years, which was, it was obviously not the Canadian team, but it was a really neat experience and learning experience. And then my last year professionally coaching with the Greyhounds of Sault Ste. Marie in the OHL. And by the end of that season, I haven't done anything besides hockey. And so I had to take a step back to see if I really wanted to move forward in it. So when I came back, with young kids at that point, my son's 11 now, my daughter's 8. I think they would have been probably grade 1 and pre-primary when I first came back. And kids have to be active. I was a sports guy. I was outside all the time and just seeing what was going on. So my wife and I decided to start a program to start off with Jump for Kids. And it's an activities program for kids primary to grade 5, which would be 6 years old to about 11, an after-school program that no electronics, no real competition. It's just kids being active and learning fundamental movements of sports. We're not trying to develop pro athletes. It's just a matter of getting kids active and busy and understanding their bodies. And then since then, we've turned it into a not-for-profit called Play for Kids. And it was trending in a great direction until COVID happened, which most businesses were affected. But it's become a passion. The youth, it's a different lifestyle with all the technology, phones, parents being busy and all that. My son does play hockey, and I volunteered for the last 3-4 years whenever I can and coached him as well in minor hockey. And he has a nice set of hands on him. So there's no question. I've daydreamt, could he follow where I went or more?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a long ways away. I'm just going to enjoy it for now, the wins and the goals, and see where life takes them.
You had a great career, Don MacLean. Are there any, and you told me yesterday you had, a handful of regrets, what would have, or what could have been in terms of your career, your early second-round pick. A lot of people felt like the LA Kings maybe rushed you a little at a young age, which didn't set well for the future. But nonetheless, I mean, goodness sakes, to play at the second highest level in the world, score 56 goals and all the other, gosh, 200 plus goals. I can't imagine that you would regret any of that.
Don't regret it. Don't regret anything because there's nothing to be gained by doing that. When I look back on it, Could I have done things different personally? No question. I can't blame anybody else. But maybe I was in the right places at the right times of my career. Like you said, LA. When I came out of the major junior and went into LA, they told me right away I was going to play in the American League. And I made it that first year. And there was no real plan for youth back then. It was just, they were a free agency type of team, older team. So things slowly didn't work out. And then they didn't have a farm team. So I played on 6 teams in 3 years, shared farm teams. And then by the end of it, they just gave me away. And I was fortunate to land in St. John's with Al McAdam, who's from PEI, from the Maritimes, was coaching St. John's at the time. And he really helped turn my career around. He just helped me let go of a lot of baggage mentally and just let me play. And then 3 years later, I won the scoring race in the American League. First leaf on the St. John's to do that. Finally get my step, signed with Columbus, thought I was going to make that step. And then I herniated disc in my neck, had surgery. Yeah. That cost me a full season. I get back healthy the next season. And then I had some testosterone issues that I had to deal with. That cost me another season. Still led the team in points, but wasn't playing at 100%. Get back healthy, lockout year. So in the meat of my career, 3 years just gone.
Yeah.
And then I came back from the lockout year from Europe, and that's when I landed in Grand Rapids, I was just in a mentally better place and played there, played in San Antonio after that for Phoenix, and that was kind of where mentally I'd switched over to play in Europe. I would say, now that you say it, my one regret was not looking at my career points in the American League. I'm only about 23 or 27 shy of 500. That's the one thing personally I wish I would have kicked in around one more year to get over that 500-point plateau.
Ah, gosh, only 467 points or whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, not just another flash in the pan. I mean, Donnie, you're going to be forever etched in the minds of anybody here in Grand Rapids that's associated in any way, shape, or form with hockey and the Griffins for so many reasons. That season, obviously, with the 56 goals, but, your contributions to community, we are forever grateful to you for all of that. I want to close out by, you talked about being a kid once, and in the very room that you grew up in is actually the one you're sitting in right now, which is your office. And same wallpaper you said. Yes. From your childhood.
It's funny how life goes, and yes, my parents are still here in my childhood home, and obviously like some young budding businesses to save costs on different things. No need for an office. It's just so I changed my childhood bedroom, like you said, with the same wallpaper and some of the same old trophies here, and that's where I'm talking to you now. Yeah,
where it all began. Yeah. Donnie, thanks a ton. So great to see you. Great to catch up, and hopefully with the 25th anniversary season looming, and we hope to be playing that some games here again, that we might just see you back in Grand Rapids as part of a reunion.
Well, I would definitely be there if the offer is extended, and I do appreciate that. I'm still held at that level with Grand Rapids, because I definitely hold Grand Rapids in a special place in my heart in that season, the community and the people that were involved with the team. It was a great experience. So thank you.